Gurave Tasma Sri Gurave Suchedana Tafeta Yanapurtade Swayam Bhuta Karamya Gadajista Bande Sri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Sarvatra Gurudaya Kristavantu Chaitanya Paramana Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Sri Advaita Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Amam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishna. Namaste, Saraswati Devi, Gurava. Vanchakapatari Gaccha. Beautiful. So we'd like to welcome everyone for finding the time to come. Especially today is a weekday in student life, busy with studies, tight schedule, and topic. The garden is not directly having to do with your academic field of study, and yet you made the time to come, so it means that you love Krishna. Because normal excuse for most people is very busy with studies. I don't have the time. But yeah, we have time for everything. So we should also have time for topics that relate to self-realization. Topics that relate to spiritual evolution. Themes that have to do with revamping of our consciousness. I was at one of these colleges this morning, and we were talking on very simple things about man's pristine identity, our pristine identity. And these students, traditional Americans, they never had anything like that. So you're like, wow. I remember one of the questions that one of the students asked was, you're a doctor, you're a priest. What motivated you? What motivated you to get involved in this? Yeah, some of the people are just curious, And I remember I was also recollecting an incident in India. I went to a conference, and one of the professors, during the question and answers after my presentation, his comment was, you have over 35 publications in peer-reviewed journals. You're a doctor of management science. What the hell? What are you doing with being a Swami? So sometimes people think you have to be a spiritualist because you don't have anything to do with your life. You don't have a purpose. There's no purpose to your life. So, go be a spiritualist. No, but getting involved in self-realization, that is the highest benefit that the human form of life can be derived. If as humans we don't explore, we don't investigate about who we are as spiritual entities, spiritual sparks and parcels of the Absolute, which mentions in the Gita. How many of you know about the Bhagavad Gita? I know about Bhagavad Gita. Oh, almost all of you know. Bhagavad Gita basically is explaining Krishna is a mention, Mama evam so jiva loke, jiva bhuta sanat. That everyone, all living entities, all of us are his parts and parcels. So I explained to the student that it means we are one family. Everyone in America is one family. See, so if everyone in America had this understanding and imbibes it mindset, don't you think it will mitigate conflicts? So, majority of the problems we have in the material world is because we are not self-realized. And we also do not cultivate self-realization. And the worst scenario is that people don't even know about self-realization. They don't know about who they are. In most cases, the understanding or the mindset is, I'm this body. Whatever this body wants me to do, that's what I'm going to do. And whatever my mind tells me to do, that's what I'm going to do. Whatever the senses dictate to me, that's what I'm going to do. And we can't blame the people. This is the whole culture of our modern 21st century. Look at the billboard. It's all about this type of mindset. Quick fix. There's nowhere you find an advertisement that is encouraging people to engage in delayed gratification. No. Go for it right now. Don't delay. And so we'll end up getting implicated in so many complications. But this is how we have been programmed. We can't blame people. This is how we've been programmed. Look, a 3 or 4 years old girl is saying, I'm talking to my boyfriend, I'm talking to my babe. Yeah. No, this is not a heresy. I've seen that. The father comes, Jade, what are you doing there with your mom's phone? Dad, I'm talking to my babe. If you've been here 10 years, do you have the guts to say that? But this is the culture. How will you blame people when they grow up with this type of acculturation? And now here the father says, Jade, you're too young to have a boyfriend. You're going to have a boyfriend now. In other words, it's fine to have a boyfriend, okay? But it works. I remember one of my friends, he's a neuroscientist, he's from India. He did his PhD here, a master's and PhD here. So he was telling me a story. When he came from India, and he was discussing with some of his peers, and then they got to understand from this boy that in India, age of boyfriend and girlfriend is a taboo in most communities. And then this American boy, his friend told him, please, don't say this anywhere to anybody, okay? Here, don't say this, don't tell anybody this, okay? So what is culturally acceptable now in one community is a taboo in another community. So we can't go about saying or feeling comfortable that we have to just align ourselves with this modern civilization without having any sense of restraint and cultivate a sense of belonging, with identifying ourselves as spirit souls, walking towards alignment with the Supreme Spirit, with the Supreme Spirit. See, in India, even a rickshaw wallah understands that they are not this body. Even a rickshaw wallah understands the principle of karma. They understand. They cheat, but they cheat anyway. If you fall into your hand, they'll get the hell out of you. They get your money. The taxi driver is the same thing. Do you understand? That push, that urge, the senses, the mind. So we have a problem. We are endangered species. Conditioned souls. We are endangered species. Passion, passion. Even after seeing, after hearing, we are not able to act on it. So self-realization enables us to act as human beings, which is a good deal. If we attain self-realization, then we can be rest assured that we will live a life of integrity. People talk about integrity, scholars talk about integrity, they do dissertations on integrity and this and that. They show me one person who is situated in integrity. You can profess the concept or the phenomenon of integrity, but without self-realization, where will you have the impetus to live a life of integrity? Because there are all of these temptations all over the place. The billboards, the audiovisuals, everywhere you go, the buzzword is take it now, get it done now. So, you are young people, the young folks, and therefore, if you imbibe this culture of self-realization along with your professional development, along with your studies, you can impact on society in a very positive way. Because then, by your living example, your peers, your colleagues, they will want to imbibe your culture. They will want to be like you. I see it all over the place. I go to meet professors, and sometimes I even feel, a little bit awkward because of the way they feel really bad about themselves, that, this guy, he has even more publications than me, he has a PhD that I have, but he has values I don't have, I can't even think of. Some of the professors, they really feel very bad. You're not supposed to, but this is the mood, this is the whole idea of competition in the material world. You see somebody, instead of trying to emulate them, then you feel bad about yourself. You're trying to be judgmental, you condemn yourself. No, it hasn't got to be like that. So the point is, self-realization basically implies the moment-to-moment awareness of the fact that you are not this body, you are the Atma, you are the self. And you work with strategies, with principles that will enable the individual to have a lived experience of that phenomenon. A lived experience. That is literally what self-realization implies. Having the lived experience that you are the self, the Atma. You are a spirit soul. And that can only be attained through bhakti, your devotional service. Prabhupada explains in the Bhagavad Gita, one of the purposes of the Bhagavad Gita, how people who are under the auspices of the mode of passion, they view the whole body as the self. Yes. The self, the terminology self is relative. So people who are under the auspices of the mode of passion, they view the whole body as the self. The whole body from head to toe, the self. Now those who are governed by the mode of goodness and transcendental goodness, for them the self is the Atma within. Atma which is being carried by the mind, intelligence and ego. It's being carried by the subtle body or the astral body. So again, we see how even the material modes of nature, the gunas, impact on our knowledge acquisition. Some people are even governed by the mode of ignorance, they are not even interested in knowledge acquisition. No. For what? Their only interest is to see how people are suffering. If people are suffering, it gives them joy. They're happy to see how people suffer. And one could be an elite, one could be a big scholar and still be governed by the mode of ignorance. I remember there was a course we were doing, and this professor, he was so enthused about seeing the students fail. He was so enthused. Yeah, about and he would openly say, I know majority of you will fail this course. Yeah. It was a quantitative reasoning and analysis. Statistics, PhD level statistics. So he knows it's very difficult. And he has taught his course, and a number of students have failed in the past. So now that becomes his watchword, that majority of you will fail this course. How dare you? So you see, yes, he has all these accolades. There's a tinge of the mode of ignorance that is underlying his modus operandi, modus vivendi. So, there's one thing to speak nicely, to speak philosophy, but what about character development? What about people are not really so much interested about your highfalutin, your bombastic words. People are interested to see how you walk your talk. People are interested to see your character development. Because we have also seen people who have big degrees. I know one professor at Columbia University in New York. He was having an affair with his daughter, a white guy, and he was apprehended by the police. Some people reported the matter because I have one of my mentees who was in Columbia at the time. And then I searched, when she told me this story, I searched on Columbia Columbia content on your website, and I saw this story because they had all these newspapers and journal reporting on campus. Yeah, so here is somebody, a political science professor in an Ivy League. That name alone rings a bell. But here, he is devoid of integrity, devoid of ethical values. Why? You think he likes it? No. And that will happen to anybody because of the spiritual bankruptcy that prevails in our society. Because of the way people have turned the human condition to be an object of sensory enjoyment. But this is the unfortunate situation, and this is how a number of people also lost credibility in their communities, in their professions, and even lost their jobs, and even go to jail. So self-realization is such an important phenomenon that we not only have to understand it, we have to implement strategies to be able to have that lived experience that we are the self, we are the spirit soul. And when we attain that level, we will not subscribe to the whims of the mind and the senses. Why? Because one who is self-realized has already attained post-conventional consciousness. Post-conventional consciousness implies a platform where you know this is unethical, this is not allowed in the community, this is against the laws of the land, this is against the law or against the principle, the tradition of the family, and you don't do it. You don't need anyone to come and tell you, don't do it. Post-conventional people who have imbibed or on the platform of post-conventional consciousness They don't need anyone to counsel them about what is good or what is bad. They know. No. I mean, it's like, I remember, because I came from a Christian background, I can remember what the temptation of Lord Jesus on the mountain. The devil told him, do this, and then he said, turn this, if you're really the Son of God, turn these stones to bread. Yeah, hungry. Do something about your life. Turn these stones to bread. You have the power, do it. And satisfy your gods. And Jesus told him, get behind me, Satan. That is post-conventional consciousness level. When you see the wrong thing and you don't allow your mind to betray you. You don't allow your senses to betray you. And then in most cases we'll find people who become victims of circumstances. And there's so many cases of that in the United States. So many cases of that. In the UK, anywhere, even in the spiritual community, the spiritual organizations, in the private industries and public industries, this is very prevalent. So as young people, you are struggling so much, you are endeavoring so much to acquire these high skills. Cultivate self-realization too, so that you have a balanced life. So that you don't risk betraying your families. So that you don't risk betraying your communities. So that you don't risk betraying your friends. Otherwise, you have all the skills, you have a PhD, and then now you're going to have an affair with your daughter. Forget about the crime. The disgrace is just too much. For the girl, for the mother, for himself, the family, and the whole of the institution. And I believe for that matter. So we have so many cases, people, like on daily basis, you Google in America, you find politicians running down because of lack of self-realization, lack of post-conventional consciousness. They don't have the resistance to temptations. So forget about going back to God. Forget that, okay? This life, you need this. You need the implementation of strategies that will enable self-realization. So that you can live your life without any apprehension, without any fears. And in Kali Yoga, it's very simple, For you to realize that you are the spirit soul within this body tabernacle, just by engaging in what I call sonic therapeutic intervention, you can really... See, I've been practicing for 40 years. 40 years. See, I was in India for 3 years, 7 months, traveling around, going for presentations at different universities and corporate institutions. Then I went to Bangladesh for 7 days. I came to London, I went to Manchester, and I went to Switzerland, to Zurich, Geneva, Langenthal, came back to Zurich, and flew to Newark, New Jersey, because my friends heard I was in London and they wanted me to come back to America. So I told them, and I gave an excuse, I don't have a ticket to come. They said, oh, we'll give you a ticket to come back. That's how I came back. And the point is, anywhere you go, you find people who are really struggling. They have good intentions. They are struggling for perfection in trying to achieve the goal of their lives. But along the line, who could get into trouble? Okay, you're in the finance industry and you're earning, so much money. You are the director of this company or CFO of this and that. But still, you cannot be sure of anything because sometimes you find people who are planted in organizations just to run you down. Yeah, there are people that are organizations. There are people like that. But if we are self-realized, we will not have any fear, no apprehension. We'll identify all those loopholes in the organizations and just protect yourself, prevent any type of misdemeanor, omission, or misattention. So this self-realization is very important for everyone. I repeat, forget about going back to God. You need this right now on this planet to protect yourself. So yeah. Now sometimes some parents, Krishna parents, they complain about their children. And one of the things I realize is that the parents don't really give the scientific value of Krishna consciousness, the scientific value of chanting to their kids. And then the kids they resist. Because the children, they want to do something that they're going to get immediate benefits. You're talking about going back to God. I don't care going back to God. I remember I was in Calcutta. So one family, husband and wife, they aspired to take initiation from me. They had 2 kids. One of them is a girl. The girl is doing a PhD in quantum mechanics. She's not chanting. The younger brother is doing his master's. He's not chanting. But then the girl was, she visited home during that home program in the house. And so she was sitting in the class. And so after the class, during question and answers, this is the question this is the exact question she asked me. So, Maharaj, what is in there in the chanting? Then I was, what am I going to gain from the chanting? Oh yeah. What am I going to gain from the chanting? So I took time to explain to her how the chanting is been documented by research scientists, how the chanting enables the promotion of high mental health. Because there are researches that have been conducted, shown vividly how chanting mitigates stress, anxiety, depression. Researchers have done all of these studies and they've documented all these things. And being a scientist, she wants to know. Tell me scientifically. Otherwise, this is hogwash. You just... Because the scientists, they tell you... I remember somebody, one of my mentees, initially, she's a professor in psychology. So initially she said, Maharaj, because I was encouraging her to get compatibility before she gets married. And so she got a boy that she was attracted to. So I said, let's work out the compatibility. So the devotee who checked the compatibilities mentioned that they are not highly compatible, they may run into problem. So I told her the same thing, I transferred that message to her. But then, in order to reboot that culture, she said that, Maharaj, but I'm a scientist, I don't believe in. I don't believe in astrology. I said, sorry, good for you, go ahead, do what you want. So she got married to the boy. 2 years, he had a boy. 2 years, they divorced. He called police, put the boy in jail. But now, everything she wants to do, every little bit of thing, she has to consult with an astrologer. Yeah, so sometimes, people want to learn from their hard experience. But the wise learns by hearing. Intelligent person learns by hearing. Some people, even having the experience, they can learn from that. So we should be wise, and self-realization is based on hearing. Hearing and chanting Krishna's holy names. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we encourage you to use your lives. Especially in America, there are so many distractions. The distractions are there everywhere right now. Every campus, anywhere, any part of the world you go to, on campuses, Those are the hubs of distraction. And in university, you have everything free. Intoxication, you can get it free. Sex, you can get it free. Meat eating, you can get it free. Any damn thing you think of. Someone will sponsor you. But yeah, it's up to you to develop your post-conventional consciousness through the process of self-realization. Are there any comments or questions? Yes.
So, I wanted to understand that how does it feel to be self-realized?
How does it feel to be self-realized? Yeah. This similar question Arjuna asked Krishna. For the self-realized soul, the transcendentalist, how does it talk? What does it say? How does it move?
Yeah.
What are his words?
I just want to rephrase my question there.
Okay.
So, yeah, that same question, it is for the other person to understand, like the person in front. But I want to ask that what is the experience? How does it taste like to be self-realized?
Okay.
Yes, on the inside.
Okay.
Yeah.
You see, basically, when you talk about realizations, it is a person who has that experience that nurtures it, nourishes it. And so if it been explained to you, everything becomes like vague. I mean, it's like you are in a course that has to do with, in calculus, that's a course we call integration. Integration could be so difficult. And so when the professor starts speaking all this, stuff, sometimes even the most intelligent students in the class, they get confused and they will leave the class just to free their brain from confusion. So, realized knowledge in spiritual culture is also like that. When you tend to hear from somebody about their realizations or what a particular the realizations of a particular phenomenon, it could even give you some confusion. But then I can give you some rudiment.
Yeah.
For instance, say you're chanting Hare Krishna. It could be very, distracting. And so you could feel even frustrated and disappointed and even stop. Because they say, Krishna said, control the mind, you should hear these 32 syllables. But this time you want to chant, when you don't pick up your beats, the mind is very calm. As soon as you pick up your beats, it's like someone sees you trying to do something good and is fully armed, it comes. And it tries to distract you here. It brings this thing, it brings that. So, when you endeavor on this path and don't yield to the distractions of the mind, you continue. You come to a platform or a stage where you have what we call ruchi. When you attain ruchi, the problem with ruchi is that it also will give you a problem. What is the problem? You will not want to do anything else. You will not want to keep your beat back down. So that's just a rudimentary experience you can align with. So yeah, you see, what's his name? Guru Kishore Das Babaji wouldn't even eat. So on the banks of the river, in order just to placate people's curiosity and minds, sometimes he will pick up the sand from the bank of the river. And it's not an experience in this world. Yeah. That somebody, and how are you going to relate with that? Somebody is doing something and he's not even hungry. How is he surviving? So I remember I was in, when I was younger, I went to the Caribbeans. So this country, what's the name? Guyana. So there were like 5 medical doctors in that community. And they had, at that time I was not eating I was eating once. I eat all in the afternoon about 2 o'clock. So they had that, this guy who looks very skinny, at that time I was really very skinny, who looks very skinny, he eats only once in the afternoon. So those doctors, they came to meet me. One of the questions they asked me, are you a human being? Because human beings need nourishment. And especially in the morning, you need to be hungry. So, yeah. So self-realization is also like that. People who are realized, their behaviors are really like, this is strange to us. Gurakishore Babaji will pick some sand on the bank of the river. Just to demonstrate that I also eat, Don't get too disturbed. But look at the type of food he's eating. Sand. Yeah. Any other point? Comments? Questions? Yes.
So I understand you're a monk, so which means you've taken up sannyasam. So this can be a little personal. So do you think self-realization can become quick or easy when one gives up worldly affairs of not getting married, and then versus spiritualism?
That's a nice question. That is not it's not a criterion for self-realization, but it is imperative for spreading the message, the phenomena, the process and methodologies of self-realization. Because it's like, you come to college, yeah, this guy is a professor, he has a PhD, you want to listen to him. If another person comes in and says, he's just having a first degree, come on, you look like it. He wants to teach me? So Lord Chaitanya, he took science because he wanted to help the world. People were not even listening to him. So he got the gist. He thought, I got you. So he took science. Why? Because he wanted to help people to develop interest. He wanted to revamp people's Krishna consciousness. So he took that position to be able to help people. So some of us, we take up this responsibility. It's a heavy responsibility. Like, I'm someone who doesn't really like to travel out of the country. Okay? But as Swami, I have to travel all over the world. I constantly, like, since November 20th, I left Calcutta. I've been traveling. November 20th last year, I have been traveling. I go to countries, some countries 7 days, some countries 5 days. Yeah, so it's not an imperative factor. I mean, it's not a criteria, but it's imperative factor. It's important for spreading the message of self-realization because you have to go out and teach. I mean, it's like, we can also ask, is it important? If I want to be a millionaire, must I go and get a PhD? No, you don't need to get a PhD if you just want to be a millionaire. Look, Beyonce, Taylor Swift, you think they have a master's? And even Beyonce's daughter, Blue, she's just 12 years old, but she's known all over the world. She's a billionaire. 12 years old. Yeah, so there are certain things we do for our service to humanity. I mean, it's like I was speaking with one of my friends, a Russian macroeconomist. So I told her, her name is Dr. Yulia. So she was complaining about financial fraud in our region. So I said, instead of just complaining, what can complaint do? Why don't we conduct the research to provide solutions to the problem? And then the complaint he brought was, oh, my institution is not a befitting university for research. My affiliation is not so good. I said, look, you don't need affiliation. You don't need a name, a big name, to help your community. Let's do the research. We generate responses. We provide solutions to the team, get it published, and government may take it over. Before she agreed eventually. So you don't need a big institution to do a research to help in community development. You don't need a PhD to go and become a millionaire. You don't need a PhD to go to be a popular guy, popular person on the planet. I mean, I met one of these big writers in India, one of these young writers in India, a devotee, ISKCON devotee. So he had me on his podcast, and he was interviewing me. And why he invited me? Because he never heard of that. A management scientist using his skills directly in spreading Krishna consciousness. What? We heard about religion, not management science. So he was very curious. So he put me on a podcast, and I remember one of the things he was mentioning was that, Maharaj, see, you are doing this great service that most people don't know you in ISKCON. I said, you think that people know the president of Harvard University? They know Trump. He had 91 churches. They know him all over the world. Scholars are only known by scholars because the works they do are for the benefit of the scholarly individuals, for the scholars community. So I explained this to him, then, he solved it in. Because sometimes people think everyone has to be very popular. No. And even sometimes I tell devotees that, see, I play a low profile role. I may not be anything in this context. I said, out there, whoo, I'm a hot cake, I'm a hot bread looking for. Because you can only be important to people of like minds. Yes, so being a Swami does not really necessarily, it's not in demand for, it's not required for self-realization. Anyone can be self-realized. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he was a householder. He had over a dozen kids, dozen children. Dead. He was an acharya. He was in charge of Jagannath Temple. At the same time, he was a justice. He was a judge. He had a balanced life. He is one good example of a perfectionist in integrating spiritual values and professional development. Sometimes people complain, I don't have the time, Maharaj. I don't have the time because of my studies. I don't have the time because of my work. I like meeting people like that, who dissect how you use your 24 hours. Yeah. So thank you for the question. Any other comments and questions?
Maharaj?
Yeah.
So if it's so innate to us, that we're part and parcels of Krishna, and that we're our constituted position is to serve, why is this so hard? Why is it so difficult for our mind, for us to get started and have a taste for this self-realization?
Yeah, because we have been conditioned for so many lifetimes. Pavlov, this scientist, he conducted the research on conditioning. He conditioned the dog. He put a dog in a cage and was serving the dog food. But before he served the dog the food, those of you who are scientists, you know about Pavlov conditioning. So before he brings the food, he rings the bell. And then he will measure the salivation of the dog. And then one time he rang the bell, no food, and the dog was salivating, no food. because of condition. Because of the condition. So people think, Prabhupada uses this word a lot, conditioned souls. But that is the extent that we can be conditioned. It's not there, but we're acting on it. We've been conditioned for a long time, and so to get out from that condition is a big challenge. Therefore, we have to put in effort. Therefore, we need help. We need a association of devotees. We need a community of devotees. We need a guru. We need someone to help us, to tell us what to do, how to go about it. We need someone to give us emotional support. Our situation, human life is not so juicy the way we think. Yeah. And we are supposed to be responsible and accountable. So this accountability and responsibility alone is another big problem in human condition. Animals, they don't have any accountability and responsibility. They do whatever they want, whatever they like. We cannot act like that. And yet, on the part of self-realization, we have to act on principles and values. And be regulated. Yukta hara vihara sya, yukta cheta sakamasa. So, human life is not so juicy, boy. Even we try to endeavor, say we are pursuing a professional program, it's not so easy. Who loves school? Is there anybody here who loves school? I hated school when I was a kid. I only became enthused going to school and being serious in school when I came to third grade and all this, and then I realized that, one day I will leave my parents home. What is my future? I started preparing very seriously. But when I was a kid, kindergarten and fourth grade, no. My dad will arrange with my teacher. They will come in the morning. Our house was close to the school. They come in the morning, singing, demanding I should come out. They want to take me to school. From my own lived experience, I was not a lover of school. But then, out of fear for my future, from from third grade, I started being serious with studies. Tell any one of you here, do you love school? I don't think so. If there's an option to live, a more comfortable life without all this hard work, and you will still attain success, who will go to school? Going to school means becoming a security guard. Because you don't sleep, you have to wake up, you have to be up in the dead of night, reading. Oh yeah. And those who don't know, they think, he's enjoying or she's enjoying. No, there's no enjoyment in pursuing education. It's an austerity. But austerities are meant for a higher purpose. Yeah. Any other comments or questions? In the absence of any other comments or questions, we'd like to adjourn this meeting. Just in case you feel shy to ask a question, I can give you my contact information. You can contact me on WhatsApp, 347-829-2983. 347-829-2983. Or email DOIT8388 @gmail.com. Do it. 8388 @gmail.com. It's a funny email, right? All right. What's the host? Yeah. What's the next thing?
Thank you so much, Maharaj, for coming here and speaking with all of us. A few quick announcements. One is, Maharaj, I don't know how much was shared, but starting next week, there's a book study group that's happening every Tuesday, Science of Self-Realization, facilitated by Manohar Chaitanya in the front. And so it's really an honor and privilege that you've come and addressed us on this topic of self-realization as a kickoff for this initiative. So very grateful to you for that and seeking your blessings on the success of that initiative.
Dr.